Hello everyone and welcome to Cypher 2025. We have a special guest, Abhisyant, who is the VP of Product and Growth for NxtGen. Hi Abhisyant, and how are you doing?
Hi, I'm good. First of all, thank you so much for the opportunity. We've had a wonderful conference so far, and it really is a wonderful gathering of the key people in the industry. And we've been able to leverage a lot of value. So, thank you so much.
Yeah. And what is the vibe of Cypher 2025? I think you have been all the 3 days here. And how is the vibe? How is the crowd?
Yeah, I think, I was very surprised that the crowd is very, very learned. They understand the industry so
Right.
well. Very good, relevant audience, and it's a very energetic vibe. I think you guys have a very nice, energetic aesthetic as well. So the whole thing is exciting.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. And so, in the conference, we heard about AIM, your new product. So I have few questions regarding that. That
Absolutely.
is, what makes it uniquely Indian, and why is that important for enterprises and government?
Yeah, it's uniquely Indian because it's not necessarily a foundation model that is built in India, but the open source community allows us to create a platform where you leverage models and deploy them within India. So while it is not a foundation model, it is sovereign to the country, whereas it's deployed in NextGen's own infrastructure, which is in India. So whether it is DPDP Act or ISO compliance or any data localization requirements, everything can be applied. So your data is not leaving the country, and most importantly, all the local data norms are being applied to that. So it makes it very Indian in the fact that it resides here. And we want to do a lot of work with the government, whether it's Bhashini, Bharat Gen, and actually add voice and linguistic capabilities to make it very Indian in that sense from a conversational standpoint. So, yeah.
Amazing, amazing. And I think so. I'm curious to know what was the idea behind it. What made you, launch this product?
Yeah. So we actually wanted to consciously see how we can leverage the technology that's coming up in open source. While we're a cloud service provider, we didn't want to just remain at the infrastructure layer. We wanted to actually create a solution where people could actually use AI in a meaningful manner. So how do you go beyond just having a GPU or just having a model to get text and voice generated out of it? So we wanted to use this agentic technology, which is really created in open source, all the frameworks and all the thought process around agentic. And how do you make it real for the citizens of the
Right.
country, right? So that was the aspiration behind it. And through agentic, we're able to do a lot.
Great, great. And can you explain me with a simple example how AIM takes actually action rather than just giving answers?
Perfect. So basically, the agentic platform I was talking about allows you to integrate with existing APIs
Right.
or MCP clients. So basically, what that allows you to do is instead of a model just returning text or speech to you, it can perform an action.
Okay.
So let's say any organization today already has their own websites, their own internal workflows, or their own applications. All of them are built on APIs. Now, M can take a conversational instruction or an input and make a decision on its own and perform a real action. Now, this real action can be anything from booking a doctor's appointment for you based on the specific ailment you have, or it can be anything to do with something simple like you're on the way to a mall and you want to book a movie ticket. And you just speak to M and find out I'm headed to this mall
Right.
and what are the available movies. And
Right.
you can literally complete the transaction with voice while you're driving in Bangalore traffic. So
Oh, amazing.
that's how it makes it different. Like real actions that actually automate flows and make things easier for you because of AI. So that's the
I think I'm going to use that. I think I need that.
Yeah.
And my next question is, how does AIM plug into existing workflows, areas like citizen services, healthcare, education, and without creating any friction? I think that is very important.
Yeah. So typically people try to stick to one kind of framework and thought process. The most common one in agentic is MCP.
Right.
But it is a standard protocol. However, traditional applications do not exist in an MCP server client relationship. So what that means is traditional applications only have APIs. So we built a middleware which is agentic, which is agnostic to these frameworks.
Okay.
So if you want to plug in just an API, we can use our Redis-based cache system, which we made, a state system which we made, where APIs that are already existent can already be plugged in. So the fact that the way the technology exists can be integrated as is reduces the entire friction. We are not forcing people to come with a readily built MCP client when their core business doesn't have anything to do with AI. Why should they sit and make MCP clients, right? So we wanted to create a mechanism where we do not have any friction in terms of the existing tech stacks. The platform should create the new feature and the new value add, but it should not create a limitation or a barrier for people with whatever tech they have already built. They should be able to integrate it easily. So that is the concept and the thought process where we
So
come
it's like whatever they're using already is just an add-on to that.
Exactly.
And it's a very, I mean, I would say smooth
Absolutely.
transition that they will see there.
Absolutely. And one important thing I want to recall, even Raj announced on stage, is we actually have a collaboration now, which Raj announced at Cypher 25 itself, that ITQ, the global travel inventory provider for all the online travel agents like Make My Trip, Clear Trip, is actually collaborating with us and providing us APIs where you can actually access all of the inventory, whether it is flights, hotels, car rentals, buses, and you can literally have a fantasizing conversation with M where you plan your trip, you compare trips, you tell M your vibe of where you want to go, and it helps you plan your trip and also books it on your behalf just with natural conversation. So imagine trip planning and booking with just agentic AI. I mean, it's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating, and I think it saves a lot of time and energy.
Exactly.
Because it's such a tedious job to find out every particular thing,
Yeah.
and then make a plan and everything. I think if agents can do that, I think
It would be
that's-
superb.
Yeah, and I can take more trips.
Absolutely.
Right. And one very important question, that is, how does AIM ensure sovereignty and compliance while still being as powerful and flexible as the closed models?
Yeah, so the best part about M is that we don't build the foundation models. I know I said that before, but it's critical because today, if you see the benchmarks, open source models and the closed source models, the graph kind of looks like this, where open source models started somewhere here, and that was their trajectory. But closed source models started here, but open source models started very below. But the trajectory to come where the closed source models are have now almost intersected.
Right.
Which means that the open source models are equally capable. So when the capability exists, while India requires a foundation model and until it comes out, and hopefully it will be open source and it can be plugged into M, we can use open source models to actually create a sovereign alternative which is as good. Because the models in existence, like your Llamas, Mistrals, you have Kimis, DeepSeeks, all of these models in the open source community which are very, very good at what they
Right.
do. So one other thing we did is that, of course, open source allows you to deploy it, govern it, so that makes it sovereign. But the other thing also is there are specific open source models that are good at specific things. Now, if we take a Kimi model, for example, it's a very good coding model. So the advantage of having an agentic platform is if user one says, I want you to make me an API, write the code for that, then I will route it to Kimi. And if let's say if the user has a mathematical question, there'll be a mathematical model which has the best benchmarks in open source where I will route it to that. So a collection of multiple open source models can sometimes outweigh a single closed source model because you're able to use the functionality of different models with different strengths, right? So this agentic platform of ours, which is behind M, allows us to use n number of models, allows us to plug in n number of use cases. So this collection of open source models will deliver that same, if not better, experience than the closed source models, sovereign in India, and something Indians should be proud of because you can use it instead of your ChatGPTs and perplexities, which are not really your own to say,
right.
So that's
I think that's a very interesting thing that you have done by making it sovereign, and also, like you said, that you are adding more power to the open source models. I think that's a great thing for India and for Bharat, as you said. And thanks for bringing that to us.
No, and thank you so much for creating the platform for us to be able to showcase the kind of work we are doing. I think it's very important what AIM is doing to put out information about a complicated yet most relevant subject, which is AI. So we are grateful for the platform and everything that you guys have done for us.
And one last question before I let you go, that is, what will be your one piece of advice to people who are building similar agents, similar platforms of AI agents, and who are into the same kind of work that you are doing?
Perfect. So for individuals, governments, enterprises alike, we always like to say one thing, which is that please begin your AI strategy with open source, because fundamentally, if you build a strategy with closed source models like OpenAI, you use an endpoint. Tomorrow, ChatGPT 6 may come out. It might have a completely different model architecture,
Right.
response pattern, context length, which is their prerogative because they are not building a model for enterprise inference or for citizen services. They are building a model that they want to take towards AGI. So if you are reliant on their API, which is first of all not sovereign, and second of all you have no control on, then how will you build a strategy which is unique to you? Right? So people try to start by taking some APIs because in the start it seems cheap because you don't need a GPU and you don't need to figure out how to deploy an open
Right.
source model. But the issue is eventually when you scale, you cannot rely on OpenAI as an endpoint because A, the costs are going to be ridiculously expensive. You have to pay hyperscalers. And B, you can't tinker with the model. You do not own or control what OpenAI does, right? So if you have an open source model, you can break down its weights, you can fine tune it, you can make it talk like a particular model, you can add agentic capability like we have done with M. So many things. So I would always say that keep strictly an open source approach with AI because the models have reached that stage and you can control your AI outcomes rather than be reliant on people who provide APIs, you know. So that is the only thing we say, and whoever needs help, I mean, we are there to guide them, help them, and work with them achieve whatever they want.
And I think that helps when we are talking about India, particularly where we have so many languages.
Exactly.
The regional languages, they are so diversified. I
Exactly.
mean, I'm living in Bangalore for such a long time. I'm still struggling with the language. So yeah,
Yeah.
I believe that is a very important thing for people to, able to
Absolutely.
communicate in their own language.
If we are not in a position where we cannot customize it to our context and our culture, then you're not going to have penetration
Correct.
into the country.
Correct.
And most penetration will happen if you extrapolate it with voice. That's why we've seen sessions from Bhashini, we've seen sessions from
Right,
Bharat Gen. They're
Bharat Gen.
doing some important work, and both of them, being government organizations, are open sourcing all of their work. So there is a reason why they are doing it, and I think that is because they get our help. Developers contribute, and their intelligent brains are giving us such amazing output. So open source is really the way, and if anyone requires support in that tangent, we would love to do that. And most importantly, yeah, for India, like you said, you bring up a very good point. We cannot rely on non-Indian endpoints and models because they're not going to cater to us in the long run.
So, if you can tell me a little bit about AIM as a product, because we have heard about it so much. So, if you can tell me about that, and before that, also how the inception of the idea happened.
Yeah. So, basically, for our customers, I mean, we are a cloud service provider, typically, a NxtGen. We have been for the last 13 years. Actually, Raj had a mission to create a lot of value for enterprises by doing affordable, scalable, secure, and high-performant cloud services. And then in a podcast with AIM itself, he had mentioned that if the next decade of NextGen could be that we do something that now impacts the citizens rather than just the enterprises, then that would be something that he would feel very proud of. So I feel very proud that I'm able to work on something that will impact the citizens. Now, how can AI impact citizens? We started thinking, and then we obviously wanted an open source strategy so that we can maintain sovereignty. So we decided that let's think of how we can make AI useful beyond text and voice generation, beyond the hype that we see around it, right? It's great with writing emails, generating reports. It's great at what it does, no question about it. But there are so many robust services, citizen services, government services, enterprise services that all work with wonderful applications. Now, healthcare, right? And they all have application systems, very mature softwares. How can you augment that with artificial intelligence to create new functionality, more efficiency, and deeper penetration? Because maybe agentic AI could address a set of audience who today aren't proficient with using portals and applications. Right? Your portals and applications did create ease of use, but it's not creating more penetration because it's only people who have access to smartphones and that kind of exposure. But imagine someone being able to find a hospital with their own mother tongue in natural language, right? They would be happy to get results saying that, okay, near you, there are these hospitals who cater to these kind of ailments, you know? I feel like AI can add this kind of value, this kind of penetration. And we felt that if we can do it in a way which centrally solves the problem for everyone, then everyone need not have a disparate agentic strategy. We have a central platform for all citizens, and everyone can come and leverage that, build their technology into this, because their technology, they've done great. We feel we've done a decent job with what we have built. So together we can use AI and augment their existing services, deepen the penetration in the country, add more value added services together. So I think we felt that this is a meaningful way of making AI useful and real for the people of India. So we wanted to do it in a large way, and we've made a humble start now, and we're hoping for the best. And the beauty is, just like everything in open source, this is only going to strengthen with more and more collaboration. So the more ministries, the more large enterprises who are serving the nation want to work with us, the bigger we can make this together.
Amazing. I think that's the best way you are giving it back to the community,
Yeah.
I believe. And like you aptly made the point, like, healthcare services, I think that's the most important part, because in today's world, we have so many people migrating to different cities for work and, for
Exactly.
education. And most of the time, it takes a lot of time to, get accustomed to the language and all of
Exactly.
it.
And discover things around
Yeah,
you.
but then your emergency situation will not wait until you learn,
Exactly.
right? And I think that way you are disrupting it. So yeah, I think that makes sense. So the moment you the inception of the idea, and then you started building it, and until now, how the journey has been?
I would say the journey is very humbling, because you realize that there is so much that you have to learn about all of this technology. We have always played at the infrastructure layer, so we are now dabbling with large, complex open source models, different architectures, and we consciously wanted to say that we are not going to be married to one kind of agentic framework. So we had to kind of build an agnostic middleware. So when I say humbling, is because you realize that there is so much to learn, so much to adapt.
Right.
But I'm blessed with a very young and energetic team, and I think they, along with me, feel equally grateful for the opportunity and the vision of what we are doing. So it was a humbling experience, and we feel like this approach attracts more collaborators. So each problem we face at each of the stages, like people talk about agent hallucination, people talk about AI hallucination and things like that, but these are not things that can't be solved, especially with powerful collaboration. So you do get humbled, and then that humbling feeling makes you realize that, yes, I think we should be humble enough to know you can't do it alone. So bring in as many people as you can and solve all of the problems that are required. It is a complex technology, but it has the technology to penetrate as deep as internet itself has penetrated. So it's very humbling overall, and we're very excited for the journey ahead.
I think that point you made, that hallucination, because I was reading a research paper where it was mentioned that hallucination is an integral part of AI, because you cannot remove it completely, but definitely you can solve it to a certain extent. So I think adding more power to the team, you are doing it pretty well.
Yeah, exactly, right. I mean, and what we decided was, if we keep disaggregating as many things as possible within the system, then you have very purpose-built agents and purpose-built models to do things. So you kind of eradicate hallucination there. Like, if I can work with a medical domain expert, like a Manipal, for example, just to throw out a name, not like we're working with them right now, but and they tell me that what are the specific questioning patterns, or how do they get information from their patients, then we can fine tune models and agents to actually work in an accurate manner that don't hallucinate away from the purpose. Then the platform's job is only to route it to that agent, which is supposed to do the healthcare services. So we cannot do this without each of those domain experts from different domains being involved, right? Because otherwise it would just be my assumption or judgment that, okay, if it's healthcare, then first ask, are you having a headache? I mean, that's not the right way to do it at all. So I mean, there are every technology has its drawbacks, and every technology has its pros. But the drawbacks can be tackled with in a very collaborative manner, and that's why we will never stop having an open, collaborative, and open source approach. So, and one point I also want to tell you is that the model makers globally are making a lot of progress. Like every quarter we see new models coming out. The way our platform is built is, if there is a particular model that is better than the other, and let's say there are so many in India AI mission, now we see so many foundation models coming up. Any of these become open sourced, M is ready to just plug that model in because of the framework in which it's built. So it's that open, that extensible, and that collaborative. So we feel kind of confident that if we get the right support, then we can tackle all the challenges the technology offers.
Amazing. And in 5 years time span, where do you see AIM to be?
I hope that M can be in a place where citizens of tier 2, tier 3 cities have access to AI.
Right.
I hope that M can be the way where AI gets democratized and technology gets deeper into the places where probably internet already is, but technology services aren't really. Because the power of conversation is that regardless of any exposure, you are exposed to your culture, you are exposed to your language, and AI gives you the access to interact with it in language. So I hope that it can deepen penetration across India, tier 2, tier 3 specifically. And I hope that it can create more value for citizen services, more access for citizen services and enterprises alike. So we want it to be like a central platform, and hopefully majority of India has stopped using ChatGPT and they're using M. So yeah.
Thank you, Abhisyant, for a very exciting conversation that I had with you about AIM and the journey and where you're seeing it in next 5 years. And thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks a lot. Thank you so much, and thank you once again to AIM. Wonderful opportunity for us to be associated
Thanks a lot.
with you.
Yeah.
Thank you.